Hi everybody, my name is Dee Dee Johnson and I am the VP of Homeowner Services for Bend-Redmond Habitat for Humanity. And I just want to take a little bit of time to go through our updated partnership program application for housing part 1. So let's go through this page by page, and if you still have questions you can shoot us an email. Our email is listed at the top of the page 1 of the application, so homeownership@brhabitat.org, and that will get to my coworker Nikki and I. And if you need Spanish assistance, I can also arrange that you have a little bit of help with that. We will have this applications page available in Spanish as well. So on the first page, be sure you mark that if you're interested in Bend or Redmond. Or if you're interested in both, go ahead and mark both. Just keep in mind that our current guidelines are that you need to live or work in either Bend or Redmond to qualify for housing in either area. And then if you have watched the videos, which I highly recommend, I wouldn't really want you getting into the program without watching both of the informational videos that are available on our Habitat Homeownership page. There are embedded in each of those videos are verification codes, so you'll want to put that on your application form as well. And then the section 1 is applicant information. That is pretty straightforward. Please make sure that you give us that information so we can do a soft credit and then a hard credit pull down the road if necessary. Date of birth, social security number, and then contact information. So give us at least one of those and make sure we have your present mailing address and your present street address if it's different than your mailing address. Looks like I got a little ahead of myself on that first slide, so we've pretty much already covered the information on this slide, but the information is here. There is one section that talks about if you are separated and you intend to apply for a mortgage through our program, legal separation is required. So be sure that if that applies to you, that we have that documentation as well. Okay, page 2 of the application is for, the top section is for a spouse or co-applicant. Does not have to be a spouse, but if you do have a co-applicant that is going to be on title with you, we will need all of that information as well so that we can do a credit report pull for that co-applicant. And the bottom of the page asks you to list the other household members, so people who are currently living with you and who will live in the Habitat home with you if you are approved. So we need the name, the relationship, and all of the information that is provided on that page. And then moving in still to page 3, section 2, about your current housing situation. We need to know how long you've resided at your current address, what your monthly rent payment is. If you don't pay rent and maybe you are living with parents or living with other family or friends, then you could list that, just make a note on there. If you do receive a housing voucher from Housing Works and you're in the Family Self-Sufficiency Program, go ahead and check that box. Check also if you have rented a room with someone or lived with someone, lived in a vehicle or shelter over the last 12 months. That also helps us determine your level of need. And then please check if you've had 2 or more moves in the last 60 days. And then if you receive housing assistance towards rent from Housing Works, please initial that you authorize us to speak with your housing counselor. Then you'll also want to note that if you've owned a home or you've been on the title of a home, even as a co-signer or co-applicant on a home loan in the last 3 years, that you would not technically qualify for our program until you have been 3 years past your title ownership. All right, section 3, still on page 3, is moving into the employment section. And for this information, it's really important that you complete all of the information on this form. Note that your income, gross income, is what we need, and that would be before any taxes are taken out. And then we want to know how often you're paid, and then your hire date. That's important to know, supervisor's name and phone number as well. your job title and occupation, and then same thing for on the next page for another employer. If you have a second job, you want to make sure that you fill out that section as well. And if you have more than 2 employers, go ahead and provide an additional sheet of information and give us the same information that's listed in this box. And then if you've had any gaps in your income, if you go about 3/4 of the way down page 4, you'll see gaps in employment. If you have more than 1 month of gap in your employment history over the last 2 years, please provide an explanation for each gap. That will also help with lenders and underwriters so we understand the circumstances. So during this day and time, it is probably common that people had gaps due to COVID, so we just want to know those circumstances. Page 5, similar information at the bottom of page 4 is where it starts, but the co-applicant will also need to provide the same financial information. Again, if you don't have a co-applicant, you can just write NA on that section. And we'll move right into section 4, which is your monthly income, and that is on page 6. So you want to list, you'll see at the top of that page, income source down the left-hand side, applicant, co-applicant, and then others in the household. So anyone that's 18 years or older will need to know this information. So you want to total up the tallies all the way across on the far right-hand side, and note that we cannot use gifts of cash as income to qualify you for our program. You can write some of this information in. We may not be able to use all of it, but go ahead and give us as much information as you can. With your housing voucher, if you do receive a housing voucher, go ahead and write the amount of the voucher that you receive towards your housing. A little bit more about your income, and then moving into your debt on page 7. To use child support as a source of income, we need to have documentation that you are receiving it regularly, and then it needs to also be predicted that it's going to last for at least 3 years from the time of your home loan, which is once you've been in the program and you've completed all your requirements, that's usually anywhere from 9 to 12 months. Then you would fill out official loan documents. At that point in time, your child support needs to be predicted to last for at least 3 years. So provide legal documents for all sources of income, such as award letters if you receive any disability awards, and then move into page 7, your debt. You want to list the payments and the unpaid balance, and then tally up how many months you have left to pay on that balance for both the applicant and the co-applicant. So you'll notice it's just applicant, co-applicant. Don't worry about it if co-applicant doesn't apply to you. And then note that section 6 talks about assets. So if you have assets of $20,000 or more that are liquid that can be turned into cash, then we want you to go back to the homeownership page on our website and watch the down payment video, and then write the verification code. If you don't have assets, then go ahead and check the box. If you don't have assets more than $20,000, then go ahead and check that box. Page 8 is very specific regarding the dollar value of the assets, and you want to note the definition of the assets as a cash or non-cash that can be converted to cash or income from an asset. And all of those types of assets are listed there. So you want to complete that for the applicant, co-applicant, or any household member that is 18 and older. And then you want to total those amounts up, and then attach a current statement for all your accounts that shows the value. And then you want to make sure you sign the bottom of that page. And then we're going to move into section 7, which is on page 9. And that is more additional income verification for other household members. So we want that other household member's name. This is someone other than the applicant or co-applicant. So perhaps someone 18 or older in the household, and we want to know a little bit information about calculating household income. So again, they'll have to provide 1 month of pay stubs, W-2, and a tax return if you have someone that's employed. or if they're receiving any disability benefits, we would also want an award letter for that person or unemployment. And then if they receive any public assistance or if they receive child support. And so be sure that you sign the bottom of that page as well. Right, section 8 and page 10 is the authorization to obtain a credit report, the Equal Credit Opportunity Act notice, and mortgage fraud information. So by signing this form, you understand that we are going to pull a tri-merge credit report, which is a report from all 3 credit bureaus. And we can give you information on that and a notice on that. And I'll also note that the Equal Credit Opportunity Act prohibits any creditors from discriminating against you. So you want to read through that section and sign. And very important to note that mortgage fraud is a very real thing. So it's if you're not honest or providing accurate information, it can be punishable by up to 30 years in federal prison or a $1 million fine or both. So the screen says 100,000, but it's actually 1 million. So note that. You just want to make sure that you're providing us with all accurate information. Page 11 is our privacy statement. So we do share information unless you tell us otherwise with our potential lender, which is the Oregon Residential Bond Program. Sometimes we need to send information to them because we might not be 100% clear about how their underwriters might review your income or your debt. So that's helpful to be able to reach directly out to the lender and say, okay, does this person look like they might qualify? We also work with Neighbor Impact and Housing Works. So sometimes people are already engaged with housing counselors through those agencies, and so we would share your information with those agencies through encrypted emails. So we're very protective about your information and want to keep that private as well, but we also want to make it as easy for you to get through the process as possible. So by signing this form, you're giving us permission to reach out to those agencies on your behalf for transactions that are related to your application. All right, page 12, we're at the end here. This section this certifies that you are completing the application as you know that it has been true and complete, and both your signature and your date are required on this. And then section 10 is the checklist. So make sure you go through the entire checklist on this form and note that you note the little boxes if they apply or not, and that there are copies of your pay stubs, 6 most recent pay stubs for everyone 18 years and older. And then if you're self-employed, we're going to need a profit and loss statement for the last 3 years. And you can see there's a link provided there if you'd like to get a sample profit and loss template. Federal tax returns, again, if you're profit and loss, we'll go back. We need the Schedule C pages to make sure that your tax returns include that. And then 2 years at least if you're not self-employed. And if you have any other sources of income, you're going to want to provide copies of that. And then again, upload a copy of or provide a copy of your alimony and or divorce decree if possible, or child support statement. And then make sure you let us know how you heard about us. And then finally, be sure that you pay attention to the deadline date for the application cycle. You can drop it off at our office, which is on 224 Northeast Thurston. If the administration doors are not open, there is a secure mailbox. It's a square mailbox on the same street as Ben Burger, and when you open it up, there is a slot. So you want to put in your application in an envelope and label it homeowner services. That is a locked slot, and then we can pick it up the next day. You can also scan all your documents, including all the required documents, to our email at homeownership@brhabitat.org. Please, please, please don't drop it at the Restore. That's a busy, busy place. Things are happening, people coming and going, lots of volunteers. We don't want your private information left in the hands of anyone and it potentially getting lost. And then you'll hear from us within 7 days of the deadline date, if not sooner. If we're missing anything, we're going to send you a notice that asks for, gives you a little bit more time and asks you for additional information. And again, if you have any questions, then go ahead and also send your questions to that same email, homeownership@brhabitat.org. And we look forward to looking at your application.